Patricia Gras. Welcome to Passion Time. I'm here with filmmaker, local filmmaker, Jennifer Waldo.
Jenny.
She has a very interesting film here at the Leary Short Film Festival about teenagers. So if you have one, you need to listen up. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations
Thank you for
on the
having me.
selection of your film. I understand that you've been doing films with also other filmmakers here in Houston, but this particular film kind of took a little bit of your own history. But before we start, what is your passion and how are you living your passion?
My passion is definitely writing and directing, and so I want to tell stories. That's my passion, and so I am making films. I write on the side. I've written a novel. And I teach storytelling through teaching film at Houston Community College. So that to me is living my passion, and plus I have kids, and so we're always teaching them about stories, and my daughters like to make films. They're 10 and 11, and they have their own YouTube channel, and
What's the name of their YouTube channel? Waldo?
No, it's Bunny Chimp Productions.
Bunny Chimp Productions.
Yeah.
Pay attention to
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about Acid Test. I understand this was kind of based on your rebellious years as a teenager. Tell me about Acid Test.
Yeah, so Acid Test is about a teenage girl who takes acid at a concert and then goes home to her parents, still under the influence of the drug, and tells them that she's hallucinating, and they freak out. And so it's this kind of family drama seen through the lens of the hallucinations. And it was based on something that happened to me. As a filmmaker, it had been a few years since I had directed a project. I had been producing with some local filmmakers as well. But I really wanted to kind of explore my own voice. I wanted to challenge myself as a filmmaker, do something that I hadn't done before, and really kind of do a career push. So I thought it would make an interesting story. I had never done visual effects, so I thought that would be something new and challenging. It has a concert scene in it, which was a huge production, which I had never done something quite that big with as many people and getting a band and all this stuff. So it was a lot of fun, and it was also making a film with kids. Like, we were shooting nights, so I'd start shooting 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and then come home and take my kids to school and then go home and nap before then I had to go to work. And, it was
You're
just
being a multitasking mom, right? Yeah, that's normal.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so.
But you said this is based on your own experience, and I'm sorry, but I have to dig this.
Yeah.
You told me your mom's an immigrant,
Yeah.
so there's some cultural differences there. I'm sure she was a bit shocked if you actually did that yourself. So tell me, you said did you do that too? Did you take acid at a concert?
Yeah, so I took acid at a concert.
Where were you raised?
I grew up in Washington, D.C.
Okay,
So
and this is in the 70s or the 80s?
This was
you're a lot younger than me, so probably 90s.
It was
90s.
92, yeah.
Okay, so were you always taking drugs, or this was something?
No, this was actually the first thing that I did. Yeah, it was.
Like, I go to a concert, I take acid.
Well, it was. I had been having a bit of trouble for about a year, and so maybe a little bit longer. So I was kind of running with kind of the wrong crowd. So a lot of my friends did drugs, and there was a lot of tension in my household. I was a rebellious teenager, and there was just communication issues with my parents, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she and I were very close, but there were also just differences. Like, she didn't fully understand some of the things that I was going through, and so there was just, I don't know, why do teenagers do some of these things? It's like, it's a combination,
brains aren't developed.
right? It's you kind of have the opportunity, and it's there's curiosity, but then I usually think that there are underlying issues as well. So
of course. Now, was your resolution to that situation the same as in the film?
Somewhat. The film certainly is fictionalized a bit for dramatic intent, but in terms of the feeling of it, I do feel like things kind of, in my own personal life, things kind of got worse for a while before they got better.
Okay.
And so you get that sense in the movie too.
And the reason I'm asking you these personal questions is because my next question is about when you do a film like this, after you do it, is there something that you'll learn about your own personal life after you do the film?
It is interesting. I mean, it is therapeutic in a way. I certainly pulled out a bunch of stuff from my childhood. We did set it in the 90s, even though it's not fully explicit in the movie. And so I just pulled out all of my old stuff and decorated the room with it. And the dress that the girl wears in the movie is one of my old dresses from that time. And so there were so many personal connections, and it was very emotional for me because of that, because of those connections. And it was, there was risk too. I felt like I'm putting something really personal out there. It's certainly not my best moment in life, and I'm kind of putting it out there for people to watch and judge and think about. And I'm also putting elements of my family out there. And so there was a certain amount of risk, but for me, I felt like that was what I needed to do. And by the end of it, because you're collaborating, I mean, filmmaking is such a collaborative process. And so, the girl that plays Jenny in the movie, she brought her own sensibility to it. So I had to stop fairly early on thinking about this is me and my story and look at it as just a story and this was the main character. And as a director, how was it going to work as a film and not just me telling a story, that's kind of a funny story from my childhood. So in that sense, it became impersonal. Okay. And it also became everybody's story because everybody had something to contribute, like they had similar experiences or something related and so everybody brought their own little stories that colored and influenced kind of what it became, and that was a really exciting part of it. And so in that sense, by the end of it, it was less of a therapeutic, personal kind of outcome than I kind of, I guess, expected going into it. I kind of thought maybe I'll exorcise some demons or something, but I think in a way I had already done that just by starting it out and starting the process. And so it's interesting. It's definitely interesting.
How did your parents react to your film?
Well, they're seeing it on Sunday. I've sent them the link, but they haven't watched it yet. So it'll be interesting. Yes, they do. They've been very supportive. They helped. We had a crowdfunding campaign for post-production, and so they've seen clips of it, and they. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Let's talk about Houston and filmmaking. How hard or how easy it is to make films in Houston, particularly for women, because there's not a lot of women in filmmaking?
It's an interesting question. I mean, Houston is hard simply because there's a lack of industry, There's a lot of commercial work here and corporate work. And for those things, I've done some corporate work and I did a lot of documentary outreach stuff for nonprofits. But I've basically used Houston as an opportunity to work on my own projects and kind of work on my own voice. When I was living in Los Angeles, there's certainly job opportunities there and there's that industry out there, but you get a lot more of the politics out there. I mean, a lot of my friends who've been out there, they get we've already hired a woman director for our 20 episode season television, and we've hired our one woman director and we don't need any more, So I think I haven't experienced that personally because I just haven't been in that world myself, and I've kind of tried to, in some ways, ignore that side of it, at least for a while. But it is something I'm very passionate about, because I think just from a job hiring standpoint, it makes zero sense, you know? And so I know a lot of women filmmakers here in town, and, you know, Michelle Mower is one of them. She's had a lot of success. And when you look at film festivals, and Laurie Simone, she did a documentary on psychology here, and so it's, when you look at film festivals, women are still, you know, almost, you know, I think it's about 50-50 for most of the festivals. They're well represented in film festivals. So there are a lot of women filmmakers. It's just the job opportunities afterwards is where there's kind of the drop. Right. And so that's kind of the disconnect. And so, you know, I think it's, I don't quite have any solutions, but I think it's one of those things where, for me, you know, I made certain choices to kind of be selective about which projects I wanted to work on my own projects, and luckily I've been able to kind of do that. But I ended up, you know, taking day jobs with, you know, different, you know, non-film related day jobs, so that I could be selective. So.
Creative people.
Yeah, so, you know, it's, you know, everybody has to kind of find their own way, and hopefully we can, especially here in Houston, find more industry so that at least there are more opportunities. Right. You know.
All right, Jennifer, where can people catch your films?
All right, well, we're premiering here at Literally Short Film Festival, so hopefully we'll be getting into more festivals along the way. And so acidtestfilm.com is our website. We'll be posting news there. Acid Test is also on Facebook and Twitter, and you can find me at Jenny Waldo. So
thank you so much, Jenny Waldo, for
Thank you so
being
much.
on Passion Time.
All right, I appreciate
and
it.
See you next time
All right.
on Passion Time.
Cambia tu vida. Cambia tu vida. Cambia tu vida. Yo sé que tú puedes.